if you could take time, or your staff could take time to read Dr. James' testimony that was given in open committee. It was not at his request. We did not hold closed hearings. His testimony deals with a great number of the allegations that we made based upon the secret testimony and his response. If a person, if you or Mr. Parker could read through his testimony, it is not secret testimony. Yes. And there are acknowledgments over and over by the commissioner as to the accuracy of some of the allegations and some of the findings in our report based upon testimony we took behind closed doors.
As governor, I cannot be a party to firing or removing someone based on secret testimony that I had never even seen, or based upon secret testimony that perhaps the person who would be charged with something wouldn't have the opportunity of refuting or denying or explaining. And I found it extremely difficult to call for the removal of someone based upon something I heard in the press.
Federal revenue sharing plans and community block grants have been chief sources of funding for various city improvement projects such as street and road repair. In each case, application for the money has been a direct request from the city to the federal government. Well, under the new federalism plan, states will be issued the money to divide among areas in the state. It's this new relationship that some city officials express concern.
The federal government says the state will have total responsibility for the trust fund. We have had no meetings that I know of where cities have been involved in plans for the future. We don't know who to go to. We don't know the process to go through. We know nothing.
Anderson thinks it's a good idea to give control back to state legislatures, but doesn't want to see his city or any city suffer next year because of bad planning. Carol Lambert, Action 4 in Edmond.
I get about 80% of regular customers, 6 days customer a week. And sometimes we know they order the same type of food every day. So by the time some customer just hit the door, we start to prepare his food. Yeah.
I guess just the way things are cooked, it's like old-style cooking, you know? It's like what you would get if you were on the farm having breakfast.
But if you were on the farm having breakfast, chances are the menu wouldn't look like this. At Jimmy's Egg, you have a choice. And you can get some down-home flavor. Katie Moore has been working here about 4 years now. She's the one responsible for the biscuits, gravy, and the bread. Special bread. And for one reason.
It's homemade. Nobody ought to make homemade bread anymore.
Mark Van Lee is the owner of Jimmy's Egg. Took over the business about a year and a half ago, and business has been good. Each morning he supervises the construction of over 250 omelets. It says timing and consistency are secrets to a successful breakfast. The regular customers here at Jimmy's Egg seem to agree.
I try to create a new image of the, of the omelets, and I like to put all, a good taste in the omelet, especially in this town.
Southside Cityans can find a second Jimmy's Egg run by Locke's wife, Kim, at South 59th and Western. These giant utensils are used to make the big omelets. 12 and 18 egg arrangements that serve 4 to 8. At both locations, Jimmy's Egg is a pleasure. Reasonable prices, friendly service, and the homemade touch. And if you can't pick out an omelet combination from the menu that suits your fancy, they will custom build. Jimmy's Egg is open 6 to 2, Tuesday through Sunday. Brian Sweet, Action 4 AM.
The Lady L Ranch south of Harrah. By 8:45 this morning, Daryl Anglin should have left his house for the 25. The Lady L Ranch south of Harrah. By 8:45 this morning, Daryl Anglin should have left his house for the 25-mile trip to Oklahoma City. He had a courtroom appearance. Instead, the sheriff received a call saying the former Harrah policeman was possibly doing bodily harm to himself. Deputies rushed to the scene to find Anglin dead from a massive gunshot wound to the head.
Identified as Daryl Gene Anglin. Was found shot. We're not sure if it's a suicide or a homicide. We're not. Medical examiner advised that he would get a hold of us just as soon as he determined it. But at this time, we don't have any idea what it is. We investigated it as a homicide.
What was the weapon used?
Looks like a rifle, possibly a Mini 14.
Anglin's life ends at the Lady L, but his story begins at Cody's Bar in Harrah. He's accused of murdering Jim Smith behind the bar and then dumping his body in the North Canadian River, from which a murder weapon was later recovered. Daryl Anglin was charged with first-degree murder, but his November trial was delayed and he was released on bond. Oddly enough, Anglin's murder trial was to have begun here in Oklahoma County District Court 9 o'clock this morning. But instead of taking the stand, Anglin died of what may have been a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
All evidence at this time indicates it was a suicide. Of course, the motive was there. He apparently had contacted a member of his family and indicated that he just wasn't going to stand trial. But I understand that it was a very severe head wound, that the weapon used was .223 caliber, and that it did a very extensive damage to his head.
Any reason to believe that... Checking both sides, Macy says there is no evidence to indicate that someone else killed Anglin. He says the man simply did not want to go to trial. Larry Otis, Action 4, District Attorney's Office. Have they done that already with Parker?
And we're not concerned so much with it as long as we have this type of people. They are. I know exactly what he's going through. I know why he's upset on it, because I know I was upset when it happened, and So what I did, I introduced this, amended a bill to put one in Quail Creek to let the people know there what they can expect if they're going to do it to me. In other words, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Well, being realistic, what do you think the chances of that actually happening?
It is not introduced with the idea that I'm not going to push it to go ahead. And I think that the senator has gotten the message by this time that he's going to leave my facility alone.
I've had the state opportunity to talk to him.
Because Mr. Beherns is here, as far as jurisdiction, I am not consenting to jurisdiction. So I am appearing relevant to determine Mr. Beherns' good time and his potential eligibility of parole, so that I can demonstrate to this court that there are currently time in federal penitentiaries. This court
Got to figure out where I'm reading to here. The State House of Representatives has overwhelmingly passed a bill that would raise the age for buying 3-2 beer from 18 to 19. The bill, however, was late in meeting the House deadline, can only be considered if the Senate grants an extension. If that extension is granted, 18-year-olds may not find it as easy to buy 3-2 beer in retail stores. The legal drinking age has always been subject to controversy, with a wide variety of opinions on what age is right or wrong.
I think that it wouldn't hurt if they raised it even higher, as I think that most people at the age of 18 and 19 are too immature to handle alcoholic beverages.
I think if they can make you register for the draft at 18, that you ought to be able to buy beer.
I don't think it'll make any difference.
Why?
Well, because if someone's going to drink, they're going to drink.
Well, they're going to get it anyway. Thank you.
Got to figure out where I'm reading to here. The State House of Representatives has overwhelmingly passed a bill that would raise the age for buying 3-2 beer from 18 to 19. The bill, however, was late in meeting the House deadline, can only be considered if the Senate grants an extension. If that extension is granted, 18-year-olds may not find it as easy to buy 3-2 beer in retail stores. The legal drinking age has always been subject to controversy, with a wide variety of opinions on what age is right or wrong.
I think that it wouldn't hurt if they raised it even higher, as I think that most people at the age of 18 and 19 are too immature to handle alcoholic beverages.
I think if they can make you register for the draft at 18, that you ought to be able to buy beer.
I don't think it'll make any difference.
Why?
Well, because if someone's going to drink, they're going to drink.
Well, they're going to get it anyway. They get it anyway, whether what age.
That'd be $3.95.
If the Senate decides to go ahead and consider the bill, and in turn votes to pass it, 18-year-olds who want to buy so-called weak beer are going to be out of luck.
Thank you.
Carol Lambert, Action 4. Last year, there were 98 cases of Rocky Mountain spotted fever reported in the state. 8 of those were fatal. Not all ticks carry the fever, but the 2 kinds in this area that do are the Lone Star tick and the American dog tick. The infection is passed from the tick's bite and causes a variety of symptoms. It's often confused with the measles after 2 or 3 days.
Comes on rather abruptly, fever, quite ill. There may be a characteristic rash that doctors will look for after they get a history of an individual who may have been exposed to ticks either through their work or through play outdoors.
If you find a tick on your body while picnicking or spending time outside, remove it carefully by placing heat or alcohol on the entire body of the tick. If the head is left embedded in the skin, the fever can still be transmitted. If the illness is diagnosed and treated with antibiotics, there is almost 100% recovery rate. But if left untreated, death can occur. Health officials urge everyone to take the time this spring and summer to routinely check their bodies for evidence of the small creatures. Carol Lambert, Action 4.
Well, let me get you dirty, though.
Since early childhood, Lena Beth Frazier knew she was destined to be an artist. She just didn't know how or when.
Well, in the 4th grade, I knew I wanted to be an artist. In my very first sculpture class, I just loved it because it doesn't include just the two-dimensional height and width. It also includes a depth. It's like having a litter of puppies that you just love, and you want to make sure that they go to good homes. You want to make sure, you know, that they're well cared for, that they are loved, and every piece that I do that goes out, that's the way I feel about it.
Lena Beth shares her personality and feelings with the world. They are cast in bronze. To many people, they may appear as inanimate objects of art. But to Lena Beth, they symbolize an expression of life and the living.
It's frustrating, but I think this is a university campus is a place where we need to have students from other countries and other cultures come, and it's good for students of the university who are from Oklahoma and from the United States to be exposed to this, I think, because they need to understand what's going on in the world. They need to understand the emotion and the emotional impact that what's happening overseas can have on us and our lives, and we need to understand that they are people like we are. And so I think, in a way, the violence is not good at all, and if people get hurt, physically hurt, that's bad. But I think that the conflicts and the struggles going on here are good for us to understand and be and watch.
The entire southeast Oklahoma City Air Force Base was like an armed camp. Media people had to go through at least 6 security checks before they could even get close to where the president would land. Armed guards were there to make sure another John Hinckley couldn't take a pot shot from the press gallery. Air Force One arrived 5 minutes early at about 6:15. The President paused only long enough to wave and accept greetings from dignitaries. Reagan was accompanied by Oklahoma Republican Senator Don Nichols, 5th District Congressman Mickey Edwards, and Tulsa Mayor Jim Inhofe. Mr. Reagan gave a parting smile and wave, then Secret Service agents whisked him into a waiting limousine. Again, the extreme security measures were evident. The limo was surrounded by a 20-vehicle escort to Skirvin Plaza Hotel. Mark O'Neill, Action 4, Tinker Field.
Bail out of the banks at 85.
Hollywood! Reagan, Reagan, he's no good! Send him back to Hollywood! Really, the poor are getting... He's no good! Send him back to Hollywood!
President Reagan departed from his prepared speech to talk about the nuclear arms race. He says that just an arms freeze would not be enough. The need for world's peace dictates a reduction of nuclear arms. He pointed out that when Soviet Premier Brezhnev offered to stop deploying weapons in Central Europe, that he failed to mention that Soviet missiles are mobile and can be moved to reach Central Europe at any time. Reagan said that when Brezhnev is serious about arms reductions, the U.S. will talk to him.
It doesn't matter where you put them, since you can move them anywhere you want, including back to Western Europe. And even if east of the Urals, they could still target most of Western Europe. Our proposal, now on the table in Geneva, is that we not deploy any of the intermediate missiles in Europe in exchange for Soviet agreement to dismantle what they now have there. And that's fair. That is zero on both sides. And if President Brezhnev is serious about real arms control, and I hope he is, he will join in real arms reduction.
Pieces of tattered and torn furniture can be seen strewn around the devastated mobile home park in Ada. 51 homes were destroyed and another 20 damaged.
Back up and let's get underneath this right here.
This couple is now faced with rummaging through the rubble and debris to salvage what little they can. They're looking for anything.
I don't think there's anything under here. Under that, I thought it was just tin.
This used to be their refrigerator, now only one of the many broken remembrances.
Golly, there's a pin or something in this. Or a hanger underneath it. That's just a hanger.
It's a nice pair of pants. It's just, you know, you're excited to find just one little tiny piece of something, one little tiny piece of shorts or pants or just a little figurine or something that you had. You're just surprised to find it wherever you find it, and you're just glad. It's all you can be, you know, you can't worry about it now. It's done, it's done.
The disaster relief units rolled into the Brook Mobile Home Park yesterday and set up temporary facilities. Sponsored by the Oklahoma Baptist General Convention, over 150 meals were prepared yesterday, and volunteers are on hand at all times for general assistance.
Material goods, our local association is starting a collection point. They're trying to get an assessment on what people need. Now these, anything that will be donated will be taken to the Army Reserve Center here in Ada, and then as they're determined what they need and where they're going from there, whether people will go there and get what they need.
The rebuilding process for families struck by Monday's tornado will be a long and painful one. Fortunately, the majority of material items can and will be replaced, but there are always those few that will remain lost forever. Carol Lambert, Action 4 in Ada. Last year, 72 people died on Oklahoma roads in alcohol-related accidents. In many cases, it was the innocent person that was the victim. In recent months, local and state authorities have attempted to crack down on drunken driving, but current laws often make their efforts futile. The way it works now, motorists picked up for driving under the influence can keep their license until legally convicted. They can also refuse the breath test and request instead a blood analysis. But a blood sample takes time and is often not finished before the alcoholic content of the driver's blood has decreased below the legal limit. Lawmakers are now pushing for a change in the penalties.
And so what our bill will do, it will give them a 30-day permit until giving them time to prove that they weren't drunk or whatever. But after that period of time, we're going to take those licenses away for 90 days. If they do it twice, they're going to get it taken away for a year, and if they do it 3 times, we're going to take it away for 2 years. We're going to be using the breathalyzer test, and that would be the sole media that we'd use rather than having to go through all the blood tests that we presently are allowed to have.
The bill has already passed the State House of Representatives and found unanimous favor with the Senate subcommittee. In Senator Kane's words, we may possibly see enforcement of the new legislation on the streets within 30 days. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at the State Capitol.